My most recent video was a 200,000 mile / 24-year update on my 1990 Honda Accord EXV6, otherwise known as Whitney, the 6th generation Accord. And in that video, I praised the car for just how well it's held up over the years and how much of a reliable daily driver it still was / is. And I certainly still stand by that. However, unfortunately, about a week after posting that video, the car started showing signs of a few major mechanical issues. To name a few, it developed yet another severe oil leak. The AC stopped working and it started idling pretty roughly at startup. I mentioned in the last video, I'm a teacher, so by profession, I don't make the most money in the world. And at this point, I've invested over $10,000 into maintenance and repairs on my 6th generation Accord. And I had to reach a certain point where I had to question, was it truly worth it? And I think it's worth it. However, I personally can't afford to continue dumping money into it like that. So with that being said, I made the decision to go out and purchase a new car. This is my 2014 Honda Accord EXL V6, essentially a newer version of exactly what I have, or the 6th generation Accord. 6th generation is powered by a 3-liter single red cam V6 with VTEC. This is the exact same thing, except it's a 3.5-liter single red cam, still V6 with VTEC as well. One major difference is this has 278 horsepower versus 200 in the 98. This also has a 6-speed automatic versus the very lethargic and outdated 4-speed automatic of the 1998. Excuse me. I'll go over a few aesthetic / cosmetic enhancements that I've done. Mechanically, of course, it's still stock, and I want to maintain my warranty for as long as possible, so it'll stay that way for the time being. I'll start off with the sunroof visor. That sunroof visor I've seen 3 different cars at this point. It was originally on my 2004 Honda Accord EXL 5-speed, which I sold about 2 months ago. Then I moved it to my 6th generation Accord, and now it has taken up home on my 2014. Also have the quote-unquote JDM style window visors. That's what they were called on eBay. I take that with a grain of salt though. The iVTEC single red cam sticker. At first I was concerned about how big it would be because that door has those body lines in it, and I didn't know how well it would fit, but fortunately it ended up being small enough to fit right there, which I like. 17-inch wheels. Chrome door handles came on every 9th gen Accord regardless of trim level. New tires all the way around. The shark fin for the XM radio. LED tail lights and brake lights. Turn signals and reverse lights are incandescent or halogen, however you want to put it. It has a carbon fiber rear deck with spoiler. I installed that yesterday actually. Of course, standard backup camera, dual exhaust, the EXL V6, the Touring V6, and the Sport. Got the chrome, dual exhaust. And to be honest, that's really it in terms of the outside. I'm pretty happy with how this looks as is, so truly there probably won't be any more aesthetic enhancements. I might do the red Honda badges, but to be quite honest, I don't mind the way the chrome looks, so that'll be in the future. LED daytime running lights, which you can't see right now because they're off. Halogen headlights, and then halogen fog lights as well. Since this is an EXL, it has the turn signal indicators worked into the rear mirrors, and then on this side it also has the lane watch camera. Has smart entry as well, so to lock the door you just touch the little button right there to unlock it. You can program it to unlock all doors, such as the driver's door. I programmed it to unlock all doors as soon as I put my hand on the back of the door handle. Moving to the interior, one of my favorite things about this car, aside from the styling, I truly want to say the 9th gen Accord is a modern yet classic approach to the Honda Accord. I would say this is most similar to the 6th generation in terms of simplicity, design, and features, I would say as well. Relatively speaking, of course, this has a lot more features as a 2014 than the 1998 did. Step in and close the door to escape from the heat. This one does have, I want to call it wood trimming, question mark. It's not nearly as like glossy as the one in the 1998, but I still like it. I guess I'll just go from left to right. This has memory seats, again, since it is an EXL. Automatic up and down for the front 2 windows, power locks, windows, mirrors, of course. Economy mode, which gas is really high right now, so I'd like to use it, but at the same time, it also cuts power by a good bit. It impacts the AC performance as well, and when you need passing power on the highway, it makes it pretty much impossible. Has tweeters on both sides. I love the gauge cluster. It's nice and simple. It has all of the digital information that you need, but it retains the analog speedometer and tachometer, of course. Then on to the right, coolant temperature and fuel reading. Steering wheel, pretty simple. Audio controls, has some controls for the information display up there and up there. Chrome Honda badge, and then cruise control is off to the right. The smaller screen at the bottom is the touch screen. That up there is not a touch screen. This is an EXL. It does not have navigation though. Automatic climate control, which again came standard on every 9th generation Accord, regardless of trim level. Moving to the back seat, it's very, very spacious. I'm not sure it's quite as large as the 10th generation Accord, however, it still has a great deal of space. Since this is one of my cars, it does, of course, have to have a trash can in the back seat. It has rear climate vents, which I love. Obviously, I don't sit back here, but if I have my nephews or something with me, it's nice for them to have that, or anyone else who sits back here. All of the materials carry through from the front seat as well. I'm going to cut this portion of the video kind of short because it is 100 degrees and that explains itself. Before I end off though, obviously since this isn't a Accord, something that they've been doing since the 7th generation has been the little neat feature with the windows. So if you press and hold the unlock button twice, all of the windows open and then the sunroof opens as well. A nice little feature. I'm going to take it for a drive as well. In terms of engine or exhaust sound, there is truly nothing to be heard. The car is really quiet, almost too quiet for my taste. However, again, I want to make sure I maintain my warranty for as long as possible, so any exhaust modifications or anything like that, it's going to be on hold for right now. Typically during the driving portion of any video I do, I tend to turn the AC off. However, it's about 100 degrees in South Carolina right now, so yeah, no. And I'm going to turn economy mode off. I had it on when I was driving a second ago, simply to try to save some gas. But again, it cuts down on power and while I'm setting off, a few features that I did forget to mention were forward collision warning. Pretty much if the car realizes that you're not coming to a stop when the car in front of you has stopped or slowed down, it'll alert you. Some lights up there flash and then it beeps as well. And then lane departure warning. I have lane departure warning turned off because it is really sensitive, but it'll alert you if you start to kind of veer out of your lane. And immediately you can tell exactly what I mean about it being pretty quiet. For the most part, the only thing that you can actually hear is a little whine, which I assume is from the transmission. But other than that, completely quiet. And I can honestly say, as much as I love my 1998 Accord, this car drives 100% better. My 6th generation Accord has seemingly no power when it's getting off the line. This has much more medium power, and that can be attributed to a lot of things. First of all, it has nearly 100 more horsepower, and then it has a far better transmission as well. And it's also just a newer car, so multiple factors. I will say it does have a sport mode in the transmission. I typically just leave it in drive. When you are in drive as opposed to sport mode though, it illuminates around the speedometer. Pretty much, if you're driving efficiently, it stays green, but if you start to drive less efficiently, if that makes sense, it turns white. So it kind of coaches you into driving in a more fuel efficient or responsible manner. In my last video, I mentioned that I was really considering getting a 10th generation Honda Civic Si, and I truly was. About a day before, I was planning on going to the dealership near me that had one. The car sold, so that plan was kind of foiled, and I was at a point where I truly did need something new. I was trying to hold out for as long as I could, but when the AC stopped working in my other car, yeah, that was kind of just, that was the fork in the road for me, because I can't drive around. That sounds kind of entitled, so let me correct myself. I really did not want to drive around in the middle of a South Carolina summer without AC. So yeah, here I am. I test drove a 10th generation Accord with the 6-speed manual and the 2-liter turbo. Truly, I did love it, which I expected to love it. However, it was just too expensive for what I could afford. I wanted something that was a good deal newer than what I had. It didn't have to be brand new, because obviously this isn't. But I wanted to know what it felt like to have something that was more modern. Granted, this car is 8 years old at this point, so it's not brand new by any means necessary. But it has all of the creature comforts that I love, and as I mentioned earlier, it also is kind of like the last classic Honda Accord, if you will. And some people might disagree with that, which is completely fine. And that's not a diss or a dig at the new Accord at all, because I truly love those as well. I mean, if I could afford one, I certainly would have one. But as I kind of get to the end of this video, I will say that I've absolutely adored this car so far. It's not the best in terms of fuel economy, but I kind of knew what I was getting myself into by going with the V6 as opposed to the 4-cylinder. I test drove a 2017 Accord EXL 4-cylinder with the CVT, and I couldn't deal with the CVT. Again, that might sound a little bit entitled or picky, but if I was going to be spending my money on something, I wanted to make sure it was something that I truly enjoyed driving. Of course, a manual would give that experience fully. However, I needed a car, and the manual car that I wanted, in other words, the SI, just wasn't available anymore. So here I am. The 6-speed automatic is far more favorable, in my opinion, than the CVT.